Today I have another album anniversary review. The name of the album is Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. This was released on September 23rd, 1983. This was a big album for them. It had lots of great songs. And I remember I had this album, I believe I had the CD. There's one cover which has the pentagram on it, which was on the vinyl. And the one you see in my background here is the other one with the four members. As always, since this is an older album, I'm going to be getting into a lot of history, and I'll talk about my memories listening to this and the songs and everything else. So let's dive right into the history. The album was pretty popular. It sold 200,000 copies in the first 2 weeks. This was back when heavy metal was kind of considered this big threatening kind of thing. A lot of religious groups thought they were devil worshippers. Looking at that in hindsight, this album is actually pretty mild compared to what's out there now. But the pentagram cover originated when Nikki Sixx was in another band with Blackie Lawless from Wasp. And the name of that band was called Sinister. This was another band. They used a lot of makeup. They were just a very theatrical type of band. When Nikki Sixx went over to Motley Crue, he used a lot of that symbolism from that previous band. Back then, Motley Crue was opening up for Kiss on the Creatures of the Night tour. But Kiss got rid of them because these guys were out of control. They did a lot of drugs. There was a major car crash, and got to the point when even actress Demi Moore told Nikki Sixx that he really needed to go to AA. Later, the band opened for Ozzy Osbourne. Here's some interesting trivia. They thought about getting rid of Mick Mars because he was a lot older than them, and they almost replaced him with Yngwie Malmsteen. But during that time, Bob Daisley, the bass player of Ozzy, told them just keep things the way they are because everything seems to be working. So they continued to tour. They played a giant show called The Monsters of Rock in 1984 with Van Halen and AC/DC. At this time, the guys were still out of control. They were very difficult to work with. They were destroying hotels and everything else like that. The band developed a reputation, and they were featured in the June 1984 issue of Hit Parader. And the stories about how this band was out of control with all the drugs and the whole rock and roll lifestyle. But all in all, this album was very good. Most critics gave favorable reviews. Some critics compared them to Kiss and Aerosmith, but many of them said it was just a great glam metal album, and a lot of the other metal bands at the time said that this album really paved the way for glam and metal going mainstream in general. Let's talk about the songs. We have 6 songs on side 1 and 5 on side 2, making it a total of 11 songs. Songs are fairly short. The total length of the album is about 35 minutes, so let's get into it. The opening track is called In the Beginning, and it's just a theatrical intro track with this spoken word section. This goes into the title track, Shout at the Devil. This is a pretty heavy song. They would eventually re-record the song for the 1997 album, Generation Swine, which kind of seemed something that was unnecessary. There's also a demo version of this song that was recorded in 1982, but wasn't released until 2003 on the remastered edition. And this song is it's very iconic. You know, it's been used with different UFC fighters. It's been on various TV shows and movies and video games. Next is Looks That Kill. This was a really good song. I think this is maybe one of my favorite songs from the band. It did pretty well. It spent some time on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Tracks charts. The music video is pretty cool. It's just a very theatrical music video. It takes place in this post-apocalyptic setting with a bunch of other women trapped in a cage. Keep in mind that this was the 80s, and back then they can get away with things like that. Then there's the song Bastard. This is a really great song. It's very underrated. It has a really catchy chorus. This was one of the songs that caught the attention of the PMRC and Tipper Gore. I think this was one of those songs that was on that list. I don't know why it's considered controversial. It's a song that I enjoy. I always thought it was really good. After that is another instrumental called God Bless the Children of the Beast. This one is very good. They play some haunting arpeggios. It's a style that would be copied by a lot of other metal bands later on, such as Metallica and many others. The lead guitar work is really great. It has a neoclassical sound. The song's about a minute and a half. They say the title of the song at the end, and it's just a really great song. Next is Helter Skelter, which is a Beatles song. We probably already knew that. It's often considered one of the first heavy metal songs ever back then, and I think it's a really good cover. It works in the context of a metal song, and I don't have anything else to say about it, so let's move on to side 2. Next is the song Red Hot. This one might be my least favorite on the album. It's very a glam metal sounding type of song. I know when they released their next album called Theater of Pain, it would have more of like this type of sound, but all in all, it's not bad. I just feel the other songs are a lot better. Now we have Too Young to Fall in Love. This was another one of the singles. It's a great song. It's very memorable. The music video is a classic. It was very like over the top. It's about this Asian woman. She gets mixed up with some organized crime group. There are fight scenes. There's like a lot of running around. It seems like they're in like Chinatown or something like that. It actually reminded me of the movie Big Trouble in Little China. I don't think there's any connection because that movie came out in 1986. That was like 3 years later. So I don't think there's a connection. Then we got Knock 'em Dead Kid, and this is a really good deep cut. The opening riff is very memorable. Probably something that has been recycled many times, but it's a classic and it's a really good song. The chorus is very memorable. Vince Neil really has some great vocals. Back then he sang pretty well. Then we had 10 Seconds to Love. I've always thought the song title was kind of weird, but if you look at the lyrics, it appears to be about all the debauchery and the rock and roll lifestyle they were living. How there was no real relationships, being a rock star. It's just different groupies every night. It's a really great song. This one also has some really great guitar work. I like the distorted guitar tone in this song. And that's all I have to say about this one. The final track is called Danger. This is another really good deep cut. I think this reminds me more of like a 1970s Judas Priest type of sound. It has some really great vocals. I like the guitar tone. I like everything about it. It's not a super fast and heavy song. It kind of has this darker, more mysterious type of vibe. I really like this track. So in conclusion, I would say this is probably their best album. It goes back and forth between their first album and this one. After this album, everything starts to go downhill, in my opinion at least. They definitely drop in quality. I really wish they made more music in this style. After this, they played like that, like glammy stuff, like Girls, 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 and Dr. Feelgood, which are okay, but it wasn't like this. They got successful doing that type of sound, and I like this album. Let me know in the comments what you think. What's your favorite Motley Crue album? Is it this one, or is it Too Fast for Love, or a completely different one? And I'll see you in the next one.